Tell me something when the rain.
Hi, today we're going to answer the 4 questions in NBio Course Pack 1, Chapter 2. So question number 1 is, what's the difference between living and non-living system? So the difference between the two is simply living system is those that live or did live and now is living is the living system, while on the other hand is simply the opposite, those that is not living. So for us to identify what is living, so it should be capable of reproducing, capable of using energy, capable of adapting to its environment, responding to its environment, and it should be made of cells. So that's the difference between the two. And if anything does not have that kind of characteristics, it's not living. It's not on the living system, or it's non-living. So on question number 2, what is your stand about the evolution of man? So personally, I'm not convinced in the theory of evolution of man, but however it does make sense, but there's just so many missing links. And I think here in the Philippines we are very familiar with the theory of the Bible, and I think I prefer the theory of the Bible than the evolution of man, although it does make sense, but there's just so many gaps that raises many questions. So I think that's my stand on the theory of evolution of man. Yes, although it does make sense, but it does not completely convince me that it's true. So here on question number 3, what's the difference between natural selection and artificial selection? So I think on the words itself we can identify the difference between the two. So when we say artificial selection, it refers to the interference of man in building up genes. So if it's on natural selection, that means it's nature itself without any interference building up a gene. For example, from the wolves, because of the interference of men, we messed a bit with the genetics in creating our domestic dogs, as well as the farm animals, to where it is bioengineered, adding something on their genes so that it would fit, or it would be more useful for us humans. While on the other hand, natural selection, to where I think it's on the survival of the fittest, to where if you have stronger genes, then, or if you have a stronger capabilities, of course you have a higher chance of survival. So if you have that chance of survival, of course you will be able to pass that to the next genes, and they will inherit that. So that gene, that strong gene would be the characteristics of the specific species. So the final question, or the 4th question, is to choose 3 unifying themes and biology and explain in your own words. So the first one that I picked is that cells are information processing system. So we all know that cells are very sophisticated elements in our body. So these cells, both bacteria, human, animals, and plants, have the ability, or was able to develop a remarkable ability to assist or react on the environment, both internal and external, and is able to act on it. So therefore the cells are information processing device in our body. So this happened because of the evolution that the cells can sense the changes through the protein in our on the membrane, and has then able to respond to the internal and external events. The second one is the living system is organized into cells. So we all know that, as I mentioned earlier, that in order for us to identify a living object as living, it should be made up of cells. So cells are very important in our body. In fact, it carries the basic unit of life, or the cells in our body carries the most basic yet very important activities in our body for us to live. And of course, yes, the cells are very essential to a living organism. The last one is the molecular basis of inheritance explains the continuity of life. So we all know that in reproducing or having offspring, we or in the word hereditary, I think we all understand that it's a passing of traits to the next generation, which is we all know that cells are very complex, and again, the cells is responsible for this. So we all know that cells are more complex than computer, so it also is very it's also responsible in passing the information necessary in the next generation. So I think we all know that on DNA, or the deoxyribonucleic acid, is to where it's the coding of the traits of the dominant species is able to pass their genes. So or in short, hereditary, or the hereditary is just a passing or copying of traits to the next generation.
I haven't had the chance to show you my moves tonight.